Thank you for tuning in and welcome back to the Sandwich of Coherency. So, in today's What in the World is Going On, we're going to listen to Janet Yellen, the Treasury Secretary, try and spin the wheel and convince the American people that going broke is good for them. That adding $4.7 trillion in new taxes is going to help you, the people. These are the same people that said that, higher prices on products and items over these past few years is good for the middle class and lower and the poor people. Okay? So just think about that. Their idea is that charging you more for everyday items such as food is good for you. The more expensive it is, the better it is for you. And their logic is well if we charge more, then the people who make more money will have to pay more. That's some of the most ridiculous shit because they hope that the American people are so stupid that they'll fall for that. And the sad part is many people, and I know I beat up on the left a lot, and I get that, but they make it very easy. They make it really easy because they fell for the shit. And many of them promoted the idea. So we're going to, as we've listened to Kennedy before do his questioning, it's always very entertaining. And again, like we've said before, the fact that he asked his questions very specifically. And so when he's asking these questions, we have to keep in our mind that he knows the answers because he's done the research, or rather his team has done the research to help him to be able to ask these questions. So the point, you would think that the White House would tell their people like, hey, just tell the fucking truth. Oh, wait, no, they can't tell the truth. Because if they told the truth, then the American people would call for more investigations and people would stop to think. Let's just go ahead and jump into this because I don't know how best to explain it other than letting the action happen.
Senator Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Welcome, Madam Secretary.
Thank you.
Madam Secretary, isn't it a fact that the President's proposed budget for next fiscal year is $500 billion more than this fiscal year?
On the spending side?
Yes. That's what a budget is.
Yeah. It is about $400 billion.
It's about $500 billion more, right?
It's about what?
$500 billion more, right?
About that.
Isn't it a fact that since 2019 until today, I'm not including the extra $500 billion that y'all want to spend, since 2019 through today, U.S. population has increased 1.8%, and the federal government's budget is up 55%. Isn't that a fact?
Well, we had a pandemic.
Isn't that a fact, though? Are my numbers right?
I don't know those numbers.
You don't know? You never looked at that?
I don't have those numbers in my head. I'm not disputing them.
Okay. Isn't it a fact that the President's proposed budget proposes $4.7 trillion in new taxes?
It does propose significant additional taxes, yes.
4.7 trillion?
Something like that, yes.
Okay. You talked about reducing deficit. Isn't it a fact that under President Biden's proposed budget, that gross debt will rise from $32.7 trillion at the close of this year to $51 trillion by 2033?
I'm sorry, what number did you give me for?
The President's proposed budget will increase gross debt from $33 trillion at the close of this year to $51 trillion in 2033. Isn't that correct?
Well, debt held by the public, which is,
No, ma'am, that's gross debt. Isn't that a fact?
that's probably a fact.
So you haven't reduced the deficit, have you?
Let's think about that. Biden did all this touting about how he reduced the deficit. But your budget's going to add damn near $20 trillion to the deficit in a 10-year span, pretty much. And you're adding $4.7 trillion in new taxes in that budget. Now, for everybody out there saying that, oh, they're going to tax the rich, if you still believe that, you are part of the problem. I've talked about this many times. You know, the people that you think you're going to take the money from don't get to that point to have that much money for you to think that without doing the work on how to keep it. They have teams of attorneys. They have more attorneys than pretty much the fucking government. Seriously. I mean, if you think I'm kidding, if you take the trial going on between the SEC and Ripple, mind you, I think the SEC at one point, they had about 3 lawyers going up against Ripple's damn near 30 lawyers, which also included former SEC attorneys. And 2 of those attorneys that the SEC had quit. What does that tell you? So, again, these taxes will be proposed, and they're not going to get the money from the people you think they're taking it from, because that was never the design to begin with. It was always designed, and this is what they're planning, is to take it from you, the little person. That's who's going to come up with $4.7 trillion. You think life has been tough financially for you already under Joe Biden. And let's be honest, don't kid ourselves. It really has been. Even when this man is out of office, you're still going to be feeling that pain. And what are you going to do? You're going to blame it on the next guy. And because you're going to immediately forget that it was the fucking potato that's in the White House now that did the shit. But let's continue.
The deficit, the debt and deficits are reduced by the president's
How
budget.
can you go from $33 trillion to $51 trillion and call that a reduction in the deficit?
Because that's a calculation for which you need a baseline, and then you compare the budget and the deficits and debt in the budget with a baseline, and then you compare the budget and the deficits and debt in the budget with a baseline in which there are none of the changes either in revenues or in spending that are proposed in the budget.
Here's my baseline. At the end of this year, we project, people a lot smarter than me, probably not than you, but smarter than me, say that gross debt's $33 trillion. They say if the president's budget is implemented by 2033, it'll be $51 trillion. Isn't that a fact?
If the president's budget is not implemented and none of the changes are made, it will be worse than that. And so the president's budget has improved the fiscal outlook relative to what we would have without the president's proposals.
Even though it raises gross debt from $33 trillion to $51 trillion, you say that's an improvement?
It is an improvement because it raises taxes by more, and it leads to...
That includes taxes.
I'm going to pause it right there, gang. Adding damn near $20 trillion to the deficit in a 10-year period. According to her, according to Janet Yellen, the Treasury Secretary, that is an improvement. An improvement over what? Because think about this. How they are so financially irresponsible. The Democrats are so fiscally irresponsible. Pardon me. But they are so bad at this. They are so terrible with the American taxpayers' money that, in their opinion, adding $20 trillion in debt is an improvement. Which means that whatever the fuck they're doing is so bad that driving the country another 20 trillion in debt is good for it. Which makes me stand to wonder, what were they originally trying to do? But let's not forget that before his budget, I think it was the budget he had in 2021 that he tried to propose, 2021, 2022. I think it was 2021. I could be wrong about that. By, I think it was like 2035, would have added 70 trillion to the deficit. So I guess in that regard, it is an improvement, as opposed to they fucked up so bad they were going to add 70 trillion. So I guess they figured out how to cut 50 trillion. But again, this is what you voted for. Everybody who wanted Biden said Biden's going to fix Biden broke the economy. Let's get past this whole idea of blaming it on the previous administration. But the point of the matter is that it's 2023. At this point, the president's got to put on his big boy shoes and take responsibility for his action. And it's the people that voted for him that need to get their shit together, get your minds right. Okay, and accept the fact that this dude is doing a terrible job and you need to be speaking up, or I don't know, educating yourself a little bit more, pay attention to what they're saying. They're literally telling you, we are going to rob you completely blind. They're saying, we're raising the price of food. We're raising the price of energy. The price of water is going up. The price of housing is going up. The price of cars are going up. The price of land is going up. And your dollar is losing its value. Most people aren't aware of the BRICS Accord, but I might be time for you to look into that too, because right now the United States is on life support. Okay, the Democrat Party, and this is this is not conspiracy. This is not speculation. The Democratic Party, many of the leaders on the left have basically handed their authority. They want to hand their authority over to the United Nations. They want to hand the United States over to the United Nations. They want this whole globalist type of control. And the only thing that's really stopping it from happening is the United States. And to do that, you have to break the United States financially. If you break the United States financially, you can have this globalist idea, which in the end is just socialism on steroids. That's really what they're going for, this whole socialist idea, lovey-dovey, everybody's equal. No, everybody is not equal. I want to say this. We got to quit dancing around the fact, no, we are not equal. It's as simple as that. Some people are smarter. Some people are faster. Some people are more mechanically inclined. We are not equal. Okay? But we are all good at the things that we do. And when we come together, we can help benefit each other. But this whole idea that we're going to force everybody to be level, you will not progress. You will not progress. This is why many countries around the world that have held on to this idea of communism and socialism have not progressed, because we can't allow this group to progress more than this group. I understand that these people are trying and doing so much more and working so much harder, but these people over here, they shouldn't have to fall behind just because they didn't try. And granted, I think they should get some help, but if they are offered help and they don't try and they fall behind, whose fault is that? At some point, you have to let them grow the fuck up. You have to. Okay, the Democrats and people who follow them want to model themselves after these countries around the world that are basically failed states. Okay, why do you want to model your country after other countries that literally depend on foreign aid and assistance for them to be able to continue to exist? Okay, why model yourself after countries that need other countries to feed them? I know what people will say, well, the only reason they're in that position is because of the United States. No, 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 no. To some degree, you might be right for some, but for the most part, it's their policies that have held them back. That is just the reality of it is. So I get back to my original point. No, we're not all equal. And the sooner people accept that, the happier you will be. But again, as I said, with the whole situation with Janet Yellen, I hope that this little bit right here is enough to open people's eyes that the United States is falling apart. Get yourself financially educated. Find out what's going on, because as you try to avoid it and act like it's not going to affect you, it's going to keep affecting you. And in the next couple of years, you're going to find it very hard to be able to feed yourselves and your family, especially if they keep destroying the US dollar in the way that they have. But that's the show for tonight. I thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.